The chickens were immune, but the brain fires came on Thursday. Right, are we recording yet?
We were recording on the chickens were immune.
Oh.
Actually, I decided that would be the best point in time to start.
Oh, well, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to, well, it was going to be Walla Walla, Washington, but our biggest fan, and our only fan, doesn't like that. So, we need to change the name. This is attempt 2 at this recording. The first attempt was met by technology death, and then disappointment, anger, denial, rage, and finally acceptance. And so we were trying again, a week later. Over a week later.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's slow. So, I am your host, actually the guest, really, but I am your host. Yes.
Co-host.
Well, I'm really the main one, I think. You're, like, it's like a symbiotic relationship, and I'm the host, and you're like the anemone that, like, stings unwanted things. And I scuttle around eating, like, dead skin particles at the bottom of the ocean.
That's not what they were eating.
So I think we should call this the Hermit and the Anemone instead of Walla Washington, so we don't mislead people.
Why? Which one of us is the hermit?
I'm the Hermit. Because I'm the more extroverted one. So I'll be the Hermit. Because anemones aren't very friendly, because, you know, with friends like these, who needs anemones? Classic.
Well, it's actually with fronds like these. If you want to add the extra pun to it.
Oh, yeah, but it's a friend. Well, it's not a friend. Friends aren't an enemy. Anemones aren't friends.
Yeah, but, I don't like the hermit and anemone.
Right, well, I just made that up. Let me see. I have the notes from last time. Let's see if they're comprehensible.
Okay.
It says, new name for the intro, and then talk about comedian mistakes.
Don't give away the list. That's just like, today we're going to talk about this, and this.
Yes.
People are already bored of that. No.
All right, okay, right, so.
A comedian doesn't go, so tonight's lineup, first I'm going to make a joke about how my arms are tired from flying in. Then for about 10 minutes, give or take, judging by the crowd's reaction, I'm going to talk about nurses and how their dresses are too short.
Take
then
my wife.
After that,
Please.
I'm going to talk about dogs for about 2 minutes, so just how much of a jerk they are, just take advantage of you. And then I'm going to talk about my childhood for a bit, and then I'm going to self-defecate.
So yeah, you know, oh, I see, you're trying to do a segue. You know how women are crazy? Well, take my wife. Please.
Oh.
That's classic.
Yeah. But no, comedians don't do that.
Well, I've seen it in comics, so it must be true. So yes, oh, speaking of comedians being self-deprecatory, tautology. A tautology is when you think that something is self-evidently true. For example, I am the head of this podcast because I'm the head of the podcast.
But you aren't.
Well, it's tautologically true that I am. So that is a tautology.
Okay.
Now we're going to move to game rant section. I will talk about 3 games: ping pong, poker, and Dota, and compare the various strengths and weaknesses of each in comparison to chess, another game that you can play on the internet or while sunbathing.
You don't need to do that. We're going to the next one. Do.
And now the weather. It's gray out, and there's 2 birds on a tree staring at me. I'll stare back, and more news as it comes in.
So, name.
Yes, I actually thought of a good one.
Okay.
But I want to hear yours first.
Oh, I'm actually depending on the name coming from you, because I've been trying to think about one, and I've had a lot of problems. I've been trying to think of abbreviations we could do that sound good, but that hasn't worked. And
Yes, well, I think we should call it. This is a joke from the recording that died, but I think it'll
warning: old content, recycled content, never heard before, but still recycled.
Just to annoy Connor for extra time, I think we should call it Not a Bad Podcast.
But it's... Oh, no, I'm not going to fall for that. It's a good podcast.
Oh, so we should call it a good podcast.
No, that's
so it's not a good podcast, so I was right.
No, we don't even know how good it is. We've only had one fan of the podcast, and
I don't know if they count as a fan. They're more like a hate mob of a single person.
Yeah, because they're obsessed with Walla Walla, Washington.
Yeah.
Sorry, sir, for misleading you.
You're not a hate mob. I'm sorry. You were misled because you see where Walla Walla, Washington came from is when I was young. I had this.
But a wee lad.
Yes, I had this cassette recorder, and for those millennials out there, what a cassette recorder is a thing that can record cassettes. That was rubbish. Cut that.
It wasn't as good as the last joke.
No, the last one was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was great. I'll try again.
But this is comedy gold. I don't know if I want to cut this.
No, you should cut this. This is bad.
You be embarrassed, I think, is things I don't cut.
No, okay, I'll try again.
The only thing there's only been several things I've cut, and that's your noise, which has this very distinct wavelength. It has a very distinct wavelength, so I know what to cut. And also the very beginning of our first podcast, which was absolutely horrible.
Yes,
no, stop. Yeah, he tried to do ASMR, and it was just disturbing and gross and went on way too long. And it was just, no.
Right. Okay, so I had this cassette recorder, and a cassette for those, I don't know what the...
Zed?
Gen Zs out there. Yeah, for those people born after the year 2000. Basically what this device was, so it had cassettes, and cassettes are these, no, I gotta try again. Oh. Okay, see, what the joke is I actually like...
A cassette recorder, what a recorder is.
Oh, yeah.
That's the joke.
Yes. See. Oh, yeah. So so I have a cassette recorder. For those of you born after the year 2000, what a recorder is a thing that allows you to transfer sound onto cassettes. Yeah. Yes. So see, the joke is that
he doesn't explain what a cassette is.
Yeah, because you know what a cassette is, because everyone does, and it's just like, oh, I'm so like old. I know what a technology that's still around.
Also, the internet exists, so they can look things up if they don't know.
I mean, it's not like people don't know what like Romans wore. We still know they had togas in the Senate. It's not like, only 40s kids will remember this.
Yeah, there is some things that are lost though because they need to be lost. Like no one knows what don't know like
the velocipede.
Brisk bottom shorts are.
No, sorry, not the velocipede. The dandy horse.
Yeah, people don't know what the dandy horse is. People don't know what brisk bottom shorts are.
What are brisk bottom shorts?
I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. They're these horrible, horrible short shorts for men that went out of style within about 3 years, except in New Zealand.
Yes, right. Yeah, this actually brings me to Socratic irony, which is very interesting. You basically defeat someone's statement or argument by getting them to explain it. Because most often, people have no idea why they hold their own opinions. And you can just destroy them by asking them to explain things. And so you could be like, all right, well, it's such Socratic irony. And then they're like, what's Socratic irony? And you're like, well, it's like a debate trick where you... But I don't know, and so it's tricky.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
So tricky.
Yeah, it's very tricky.
At this point in time, I would usually tell you the name of the podcast so you'd all remember what you're listening to, and also to represent a cut that we had in conversation or something I got rid of. But because you actually don't know the name of the podcast yet, I'm just going to give you this.
I had a tricycle when I was 3, and I rode it around, and it had a little horn, but I wasn't strong enough to honk it, so I kept saying, Dad, help me! And he thought I wanted help getting it pushed around, but I actually wanted help honking the horn.
That's just stop.
I mean, endearing.
That's not endearing, that's
5
annoying.
million subscribers. Alright, you're famous now. Congratulations. You're like me now. I'm already famous.
Are you, though?
Yeah. I was famous. In the paper several times.
Yeah, look at you. You've been in the paper several times.
And there's thousands of people that subscribe to my mods, like in the last podcast I mentioned. So, yeah, I'm famous.
Okay. That's nice.
Yeah, thousands. Well, anyways, the name that I was thinking for the podcast, which I think it's a nice alliteration. Okay. Well, it's not technically an alliteration, but... Well, or is it? Is it connaissance, maybe? Anyways, it's catchy, it's punchy, describes the situation perfectly, easy to remember, so you can tell your friends about it, your loved ones. You can share it around and everything else. And
you're building this up too much.
It's something to talk about. It will be sung of in ages to come from the trees by larks, taught to the command of the English language, just for the purpose of naming the podcast a name glorious unto the heights of a mighty elm itself. I think we should call the podcast. Sorry, I had a brain freeze.
Seriously?
The Philosopher and the Fool.
Okay. Half cast?
No, the Philosopher and the Fool. It's like an alliteration. It's like a PH and then an F.
Half.
People are like, have you heard of?
No, but there's the and in there. It's the path.
Or the faff. Yeah, that's perfect.
Faff. No. That's...
Yeah, it's like nonsense, isn't it?
That's chaff.
I'm sure faff is something.
I don't like the name Philosopher and Fool. Because it implies one of us is a fool.
Yeah, but the secret is we don't say which one it is. And then we both think that we're the cool fool. But secretly we think the other one's the philosopher.
I don't think either of us are philosophers, though.
Philosopher is a lover of knowledge, from philo, meaning delicious pastry, and sulfur, meaning sulfur. But I think, okay, well, fine, you can be the fool, I'll be the philosopher. So which philosophy would you like me to talk about today?
I don't think we're always going to be talking about philosophy.
Not thinking. So that would be something more along the lines of Zen Buddhism, like the state of no mind, Mushin, it's called. Mu meaning no, but it's a bit more than no. Or it kind of means unsay what you've said. So it's like because there's some statements that are false once uttered, but are true if not uttered. So if someone asks you a question, that the only answer is to not ask the question, you can say mu, which means to take the question back, to never have said it. Which saying there is a truth there, but it's unexpressible. By expressing it, you deny the truth of it. And that sounds like just sort of wishy-washy stuff, but if you look into Gödel's works in mathematics, you'll actually see that he proved it mathematically, and it's fascinating. Gödel Escher-Bach is great for that. That's where I got it from. Yeah, it's just really cool. It's the idea of
philosopher's folly.
Well, that's just one person, isn't it?
Yep.
But I'm here too, so it can't just be about you. We could call it. You see, like it's a podcast is a dialogue, right?
Yes.
But the thing about philosophical dialogues is generally there was just someone that had the right thing and then the person that had the wrong thing. Like they're very weakly written. It's not a very good argument. A lot of them. It's just like there's like a lot of these Spanish dialogues. I forget the name of the guy, but he had 3 characters, and one of them was always just like, "Why is this like this?" And then the other one, and then the slightly wiser one was like, "Well, it's because of this stupid one." And he was like, "Oh." And then they were like, "But is that true? Wisest one?" And he was like, "Yes." And really? He always took the side of the one character every single time. Yeah, I forget his name. But it was so there's like these really dialogues where it's just like this guy is obviously meant to be right all the time. Like, you know those comics that are really bad where it's like, I think this, and it's like, you're wrong because of this and this and this, and it's like, you're
like
right.
the old those old Christian comics, like why D&D is evil and why gays are evil because of the story of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah, or there's tons of them. They can be about any topic, not necessarily just Christianity.
Yeah, no, but those 2 comics that I showed you at one point.
I sort of remember them. I'm thinking of different ones.
Okay. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, or it can even be like those old educational videos, like, drugs are bad. It's like, no, they're not. I love drugs. And then the person's like, they are bad. I knew a guy who did drug, and now he's dead. And then they're like, you're right. and like, you know, so
yeah.
So I like that dialogue.
Okay.
It's silly. So it's like the philosopher and the fool.
The name is actually growing on me. And partly the reason is because of Touchstone.
Yeah. I don't think there's something wrong in fool. I think a fool asks... You see, the thing about...
Yeah, because I wanted it to be like an abbreviation where we have like the something cast, but just the philosopher and the fool actually works.
Yeah.
Like there's other people who just do things with like one name. It also has to be podcast, but it doesn't have to have podcast in the name.
Well, the other thing is... don't follow in other people's footsteps.
Yeah.
Blaze your own trail. It's harder, and you get tired, and then you starve in the wilderness. Don't stick to the beaten path, because that's where food and shelter and safety is. Go out into the wilderness amongst the wolves and die there, alone.
You know, there's an interesting story about the whole beaten path thing. Because up here where we live, right?
Yeah, where do we live? Is that secret, or did I give it away in the last podcast?
I think you've given away partly.
We live on 123 Oak Avenue.
Yes. But,
with all the oak trees in northern Canada.
Somewhere in the world, in northern Canada, there's a highway, which a guy was asked to build by the military, and he made it really windy, partly because they didn't want fighter planes to land on it, but also he wanted it to be like easy access to all of his favorite places. So like there's a fishing lake he likes, he's going to have it wind towards the fishing lake so he can easily drive along, get out, and go to the fishing lake. This guy was the guide for the highway builders. Or it's like, ooh, this is a nice lookout point. I'm going to have it wind over to the lookout point so I can go out there and look out over things.
Is this true?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the guy who built the highway, he's like, ooh, I like this spot. So that's why it's so crazy.
That highway that goes through Alaska?
Yeah, the Alaska Highway. That's why it's so crazy.
Well, it's also to avoid bombing runs, I heard.
Yeah, that's why I said, like, he partly built it windy, like they asked him to build it windy.
Yeah. But the wines he chose were to go to favorite fishing spots.
Yeah, but like people say, oh, he's a First Nations guy, and like, oh, the American soldiers must have kept him drunk the whole time he was making it, like his old joke because it's so windy. But actually, it's just like all of his favorite parts out there. So that's partly why it's such a crazy road.
And we were I'm lost. Fools, they're the ones. And then I was about to say they're the ones, and then you went on to the Alaska Highway.
It was a related tangent at some point.
Because he was
because you're talking about blazing your own path.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're doing some irony on the fact that it's actually really bad to blaze your own path because you're going out into an environment that
and then this was a man who made a path. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a man who blazed his own path.
I see, it all makes sense. Yes, as I was going to say before I interrupted myself, and then Connor had a actually decent segue off of that. The fool, I find, is often the one who asks the questions that are foolish to ask. But the thing about doing that is often it's not that foolish to ask questions. In school, I did well, and I think sometimes, and I think that was because, well, I can't shut up for one thing.
Really?
Yeah, actually, I think I mentioned the last one even. Yeah. I have troubles not talking.
Although you can't... You're doing better this time, but you can't shut up yet. When I was doing the editing, there's points in times where you're talking, where it's like a pause, and I have to edit that out, and another pause, I have to edit that out, and another pause, I have to edit that out. And I gave up at one point. I was just like, you know what, I'll just let people know he's not a good speaker, because like for half the podcast, you actually sound like sophisticated and in control of your mind and language, and then it sounds like you've slowly become a drooling idiot. Because there's just like these pauses and these grunts and noises that I gave up editing out.
So what I do with those pauses is a lot of people will say when their thoughts are catching up. They'll go, hello, I'm going to talk about what I do for a living. I'm a pole construction worker.
Like a prime minister.
I construct poles. And, well, he also talks very fast. But he's a good speaker despite that, I think. But he almost speaks like he's afraid he'll be interrupted, which is odd. Yeah. Because who's going to interrupt the head of a country? But
his dad.
Yeah, right there. See that? But a thing you can do if you're a speaker, which makes you seem like you know more what you're doing, you're not nervous, is you just leave silence instead. So when you're talking and you lose what you're keeping track of, you pause.
Yeah, but this is purely
and it even makes what you're about to say, the next thing, seem dramatic.
Yeah, but this is purely audio. In speaking, when you pause, you look at people. You emphasize with a look or a hand gesture when you pause. You're trying to think of what to say, and so you wave your hand about, or you pointedly look at one person. It's like, yeah, I'm talking about you, buddy, and you know it.
Right. So, if you're listening to this, there's a small chance I'm looking at you while you're listening. Whenever there's a pause. Hello. Yeah. See you there. Okay, Dave, put down the trash bin. All right, so come on. There's a chance. There's a chance.
We have such a limited amount of viewers.
Yes, but I mean, it's an American-sounding name. The guy's in Walla Walla, Washington. There's a chance.
I don't know if I'm very curious about this guy.
Yeah, once someone like, they didn't even say anything mean to me online, but they just, like, kind of ignored me in a way. And I just felt bad. Like, I didn't feel good.
Well,
and so I kind of worry, like, if I'm saying anything, like, that's just annoying. Like, it's weird how amazingly just, like, a casual... I have no ill will towards you, Dave. But, like, I do.
You gave us a thumbs down if you're that person.
That's fine. You can have opinions. Give us another thumbs down on this one. Just give us a thumbs down on every video we ever put out.
Yes, after watching it completely.
Yeah, your life is yours. Share.
Like.
No.
Or unlike.
No, share, don't like, and subscribe.
And ring the little bell.
Yeah, wait, Oh, is this on YouTube?
Yes.
Oh.
Currently.
I hate that bell.
You do?
Yeah. It just spams you with things.
Oh.
I don't like it.
I use it because I only ring things that I like.
I don't need it.
Okay, well, I do. I have a lot of channels I'm subscribed to.
Oh, I'm not. Well, I have a few, but they don't put out stuff that much. Anyways, I asked a lot of questions in school, and I looked like an idiot most of the time. I'd be like, wait a minute, how come, if plants grow towards sunlight, and how come roots grow down? Huh?
What? Whoa. What? Oh, to get water. Okay. Yeah.
But see, within the words of the fool, you will find wisdom deep beneath, like a treasure buried beneath a clam.
Treasure buried beneath a clam.
Yes.
You are listening to The Fool and the Philosopher. Which one's which? You decide.
Loping. Yeah. Sauntering, dancing around. The word saunter comes from the French saunter, meaning sacred earth. Saunterers were people who would wander around the middle, like the Alsace-Lorraine region in France and Germany, and they would seek holy shelter. Like, you would just take them in. They were pilgrims, and so they could be given rest in anyone's house. Yeah, so you could just become a saunterer to go on a pilgrimage towards, let's say, Jerusalem, and you could just walk there, and people would give you shelter and food and provide you with everything you needed because you were a saunterer.
I feel like this is relevant to what you're saying. I feel like I should have a "did you know" when you're about to go on one of those things like that. Just put in "did you know." Did you know? Like, just have like several of that. Just like,
and now a fact from Cameron.
Did you know that trees grow up because they want to go toward the sunlight? So the roots grow down because there's sunlight under the ground.
And that is what we call the Earth's core.
Yeah.
The Earth is a tiny sun surrounded in a thin skin of earth and rock and trees and water and fish and birds and a mosquito.
Surrounded by a layer of birds?
And fish and water and rocks and a mosquito.
A layer of mosquito. But just one.
Yeah.
That must be incredibly thin.
No, it's like the layers made up of them. It's like a conglomerate. It's like when you wrap a beach ball in multicolored paint.
That's not wrapping, that's painting.
No, but when you have a calico cat, right? If you skinned it, and then you took that skin...
Okay, are you going to be skinning it with a knife or a potato or both?
There's a lot of ways to skin a cat.
Is there, though?
Yeah, you can... Okay, what you can do is you can take a knife and you can just like cut it around the ankles and stuff and pull it off. Or you could like put hooks into its skin and then just tug really fast. And then,
okay, no, we're done. Okay, we're done.
Anyways, if you skinned a calico cat, your preferred method, and you said that it was covered in a layer of black fur and a layer of white fur. No, you said it was covered in a layer
of black and white fur.
Of black and white fur, like a layer of mosquitoes and birds. And, well, mosquito and birds. Then it's just... It's right, it's just like they make up different spots on it. So, I couldn't think of a good analogy, so I went with skinning a cat, which is a classic.
Yeah.
In the medieval ages, actually, there was a form of entertainment where they would burn cats.
Did you know?
And they'd light cats on fire and just watch them.
Did you know that in the medieval ages, they'd light cats on fire and watch them burn? It was a form of entertainment.
What's with that voice? Are you imitating my voice acting for Jonas?
Yes, because that thing had the "did you know?"
Yeah, I don't know what I was doing there.
These.
It was terrible. I don't like the sound of it.
You don't?
Well, he was meant to be annoying. I think I did a good job.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing. I was just...
Did you know?
See, I pride myself at being good at voices, but I don't think I am secretly.
Yeah, you probably aren't. Wait, am I meant to be reassuring? You're great at voices, Cameron. Good for you.
Oh, I thank you, Connor.
What was that meant to be?
It's my real voice.
Ah.
It's my blues voice. I got new shoes, but they already have a hole in them. And I got the hat, but most of it was eaten by...
That's soul music you're thinking of.
Woo!
No, that's soul music. That's Michael Jackson.
There's soul music and Michael Jackson are the same thing.
No, they're very different. Michael Jackson's
Michael
pop.
Jackson will always be in my soul. And so will his music. Soul music. Boom! Checkmate!
That's a good point.
Fool.
That's the debate, isn't it? That's the eternal debate. We don't know which one's which. We don't know which one's Ginkgo and Geico or whatever that Spanish thing was.
No, but I'm calling you a witless fool instead of a foolish wit.
I'd rather be a witless fool than a foolish wit.
Is that the right way of saying it?
Nope.
I'd rather be a
So
fool.
Shakespeare, there's something that's interesting.
Yes.
He's good. You have to.
Is he though? Did he actually write the works?
I'm gonna say he did.
Okay.
That's a dumb argument. Who cares? He did. Let's say.
Many people care.
Well, they shouldn't.
Oh.
They need better things to do. They're like, it's like those people that read People magazine or whatever with all the gossip. It doesn't matter. It's just Shakespeare wrote them. That's fine.
Okay.
They say he can't because he's uneducated. Uneducated people can do all sorts of things.
I'm
Who do you think invented? Who do you think was the first teacher? It was an uneducated person. Who do you think were the first educated people? They were uneducated. Everyone was uneducated to get educated.
I'm not making the argument because he's uneducated. I'm going by the argument that he was one of the actors.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I mean, I think he wrote it too, but I'm just talking about one of the main arguments for Sir Francis Bacon, which is rather silly, is they didn't believe he wrote it because the person we know as William Shakespeare wasn't around at the right times to write the plays when they were written.
Mm.
That's the main argument. But a person who was around at that time, who had the skill set and was known to be a writer, was Sir Francis Bacon.
Ah.
So that is actually the big argument. Like, people think they just think he was uneducated, so he can't do it. That's not the argument. It's because the timeline doesn't line up.
Right.
But it's still possible that Shakespeare wrote it in his early 18s to 30s.
The name Francis, very common, such as Francis Bacon, Sir Francis Drake.
Did you know?
And Sir Francis von Warbeck, the Archbishop of Munich, Munster, and the Francis of the Franciscan monks. Very common name for great people, but it just means Frenchman. It's not exciting. But French is actually interesting because the tribes of the area that later became France and Germany were just all named after the weapons they carried. So French might come from the word spear or something. So going back to Shakespeare.
Yes.
As before, I was so rudely interrupted by this philosopher. He's good. He's very good. That's undisputed. But I don't know if his storytelling's good. He's very good at puns. He's very clever. But I don't know if that's enough to carry...
Well, it's meant to be the actors that carry the story.
Yeah, but the stories aren't that exciting. They're not that interesting.
Yeah, but the actor... You probably, you have your manuscript of how it's written. This happens in plays a lot. You have your manuscript. You don't follow that manuscript to the key with acting.
The thing about Shakespeare's writing, though, is that it's so precisely done, you'd almost have to. It's all iambic pentameter and has rhymes and whatnot, and the puns and the...
Also, a thing about William Shakespeare's work is it has a ton of jokes that are time-based. A lot of things are for the time it was in.
Yeah. But, so he's good, but I don't think he's,
the best?
Yeah, or even... I don't think he's the best. He's very good, though. Very, very talented.
The Bard is good.
Well, that's the thing. We're calling him the Bard. I think there's plenty of other writers equal to him or greater. So I don't know why he's society's standard. I guess because a lot of the good writers write interesting stories as well.
Also, in school, one of the main things that was taught for Americans and Canadians, anyways, is Shakespeare. Which
what I'm saying is why they
as a high standard for complex writing.
Well, why I think they probably use Shakespeare is you can get some very complex, in-depth writing.
Mm-hmm.
and they're very short. They're like 50 pages long, his stuff.
Yeah.
But if you want to read like War and Peace in a class, another very good thing, book.
Your students are not going to be able to do it.
Oh, they can. It'll take up most of your class. Oh, they will.
No, I know some people who have a lot of trouble reading, and they just don't read like in amount of time. Yeah, like a friend of mine who really liked 1984.
Yeah.
He couldn't read it at a pace with the rest of us, and like he had a ton of time to do it. He had like 4 months to read it, and he still didn't finish it in time. Whereas the rest of us were almost completely finished it like 2 months ago.
Oh yeah, I think that's why they do Shakespeare basically, is because it takes so long to read other books. Like if you want to have everyone have a chance, like I think most people could read War and Peace in a semester, no problem.
Yeah, but that's all you would do.
Yeah, or most of what you do, and you want
multiple things to draw from.
Or you just want, like, if someone's going to take twice as long, you want them to be able to do it as well, because the school system has to be designed, like, basically people are going to learn at different rates, but
your class is held back by the slowest moving train.
Not so much that, it's that you have there's only a certain amount of teachers, and otherwise it gets expensive. So what we've done is we've divided, in Canada at least, into 12 grades.
Yeah.
And kindergarten. And that's like our sort of, like, you could chop it up more finely. You could have, like, this grade is for people that learn slightly faster at 3rd grade, but they'll be a bit slower than a 4th grader. So you have, like, this sort of 24 grades of, like, you slip in and out of them depending on how well you're doing. Otherwise, you move up. So you'd move, let's imagine it's a horizontal line. Okay. So you'd move laterally normally, but sometimes you might move up and down. So let's say you're in grade 1.
Yeah.
Then you go to grade 3 and then to grade 5, all the way up to grade 23 or 25.
Yeah.
But if you start going fast, if you start falling behind, then you go from grade 1 to grade 2, and then from grade 2 you'd go to grade 4, and then from grade 4 to grade 6. And if you start doing really well, then you could go from grade 6 to grade 9 or 7 and get back on the fast track. So you can do it like that. But you only have so many teachers, so that's.
But another product of that would be it would separate out people a bit, because
or you could go like grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I think like we think learning is respective to age, and it's roughly, but it's not exactly.
I think it's more respective to age because at a young age it's very good to have close age people together.
Yeah, well, I think the main point of school isn't really learning. It's learning how to function within a restricted environment.
Yeah.
And it's making friends. I think that's the main portion.
Yeah.
It's basically willpower training and friendship training.
And learning to not respect but pretend to respect your superiors. And sometimes respect your superiors.
Yeah. I don't know if respect is ever like a...
Or not respect, but just like learn to do what they want because they are top and you are not.
Yeah, I think that's what respect is, though, isn't it? Like,
well, there's a slightly difference because respect out of fear, is that respect?
I think so.
It feels like there's different types of respect, though. Like there's respect out of fear, respect out of envy, respect out of love, respect out of honor, respect out of deed.
Respect out of envy?
Yeah.
What would that be?
You really want what that person has, but you don't have it, so you respect them because they have it and you don't.
So someone has... What do you really want? You want a cool computer. So let's say you have a friend that has a cool computer, and you really want that, so you respect them.
No, not so much envy.
You just be envious?
I'm not... more like that person... I'm envious of that person because they can speak to a crowd really well, or they can play the piano really well. And I'm envious of the skill. I want that skill, but I don't have it, and I want it, so I respect them.
So you respect that they have that talent.
I mean, respect out of envy, I'm trying to defend it, but I'm not sure if it's actually a proper type of respect out of envy.
No, I don't think so, but I think you're onto something there. You respect someone for their talent or something, like a skill you want.
Yeah.
So what would that be? Admiration, not envy, I think.
Yeah. Respect out of admiration.
Yeah. So that is Socratic irony in use.
Yeah. Just trying to... But we actually used it, and I didn't feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
Where sometimes the goal is to make the person feel like an idiot.
I think arguments are a bad idea. I think discussion is more important. Like, I say argument. I don't mean like, oh, never disagree with people. I mean, don't go in with the intention to win.
Go into intention to
learn or to Yeah, and not even to teach. Go in with the intention to learn. Because if you go in to teach, then you already think you're in the right. That said, it's much harder to do than not, because when your ideas are attacked, you feel attacked personally. It's like you feel like you're going to die. That's actually biological.
Letting go.
It's actually a biological thing, though.
It is a biological thing.
It's crazy.
Thank you for choosing to listen to The Fool and the Philosopher. Or is it Philosopher and Fool? Who cares? Let's carry on with the show. So, I'm a very flawed individual.
Yes.
Okay. At this point in time, when, there's this thing that girls do in high school, which is they will go, they'll do really good art. Maybe guys do this too, but I only notice with the girls in my school, which is they do really good art.
Yes.
And then people tell them, oh, that's great. They're like, oh, it's not all that good, or it's not that good, I'm not a good artist. And, they drew something amazing.
Yeah.
And they say that, so all their friends will say, oh, that's great, ooh, that's great. And they'll do it with art or something. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of a situation where it's like they are, taking what they're good with. Whereas the situation here where I'm saying I have many flaws, I actually do have many flaws, and this is the point in time you actually are meant to reassure me.
I don't know. I think you should admit it. I don't think I don't like.
You don't want to pander to my pansiness. You don't want to go. You're not flawed because I am flawed. You want me to accept I'm flawed. You want to beat me down in the dirt so I can get up back again stronger than ever before.
Well, I just think
if I must fall, I will rise again each time.
Like a phoenix.
Better man.
Yeah, like a phoenix.
Yes.
Rising from the dusty wasteland of Arizona. Mm-hmm. Yes. No, I think that pandering for compliments shouldn't be rewarded.
No.
Almost. Although not rewarded so much as encouraged.
But just that whole thing with the art actually does really irk me. Really
I don't think that would be
string my guitar.
Isn't stringing your guitar a good thing?
Yeah, dis-string.
Oh, D-string?
Yeah, D-string my guitar.
I don't know if that'd be high school girls so much as artists.
Just artists? You mean artists or artistes?
Well, you can't be an artist unless you hate yourself.
You can't be an artiste unless you hate yourself.
No, artistes can love themselves because they think anything's art. They can stack a bunch of bicycle tires on top of a polo.
Do I need a third category then? Because there's the artist, there's the artiste. What's the person who just goes hey, I drew a picture, it's good, and then they walk off?
That's the artiste. Oh wait, the person that just likes drawing?
Yeah, a person who just draws a picture and they're not miserable, or they might even do it for a living, but they're not this expresses the suffering in my soul, or anything's art, and they pile a bunch of trash cans. It's just the person who draws a picture and I can live with that. Because what I've been doing is an artist is a person who draws a picture and I can live with that, and I've been calling the artiste the person's inner turmoil.
No.
Suffering.
So the artiste is the inner turmoil suffering, but the artist is the person that hates all their creations. The person you're talking about is a subcategory of artist, not artiste. Okay. And they are a flawed artist because they don't see the how terrible their art is.
Okay, so they're the truly happy artists, though?
Well, they're happy, but they're also ignorant. So because they don't realize how bad their art is.
But ignorance is bliss.
Because, you see...
they're the bliss artists.
If you ever create something that you are satisfied with...
Yes. You're never going to do better.
Then you're not going to ever improve. You might as well stop, because you've reached the peak. There's nothing more to learn.
But what if you like some parts that ooh, that ear?
Yeah, exactly. That's good. See, that's a real artist. There has to be a flaw in your work. There's always a flaw in your creation.
Unless you're perfect.
Well, if you're perfect, then you need to use a flawed tool because nothing can be perfect.
Actually, it's interesting, the whole thing of using a flawed tool, because I thought about this whole concept with acting. Someone can deliver a script perfectly, and everyone will go oh yeah, okay, they did a good job. But if they're delivering their script, and they're supposed to
they're tied up in a trunk of a car with a dagger shoved through their nose.
No.
That's impressive, because they'll be all nasally, and they'll also be
no.
If a trial is done, then trial is done quickly. If the assassination controls the consequence, bang, 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 help! And kill the sex, and we, help!
Okay.
On this bank,
the farce has gone on long enough. Farces can only go on a certain point.
I can farce all I like.
But, okay, right then. Just do it in a different room.
Alright, I'm gonna go farce.
But, actors, tis done with turreton, or turd, well done quickly. The people might, go, what the, or laugh at that. That actually might be, just a bad example, but that might be better than them doing perfectly. in a way. You might enjoy the actor messing up more, and at that point in time, like the audience is getting bored, they do that mess up. It's funny. You're re-engaged. You're like, oh, when will they mess up again? I'm going to start watching. Like sometimes flaws are a good thing.
I hate it when actors mess up. It's like my biggest fear. I hate watching plays because I'm worried the actor will mess up. Really? Magicians are even worse.
Well, with music, it's kind of hard, but I mean, with acting, I think it can be very amusing. Like, you couldn't tell, like, when you watched my play I was in, like, could you...
Were you in a play?
I've been in several plays, and you've watched most of them.
Have I?
You watched Peer Gynt.
Yeah, but you were into character. You were just like a smoky blackness.
No, I wasn't a part of the Borg.
The Borg?
That's what it's called, the Borg.
Was it called the Boyd?
Yeah. It's like Void, but with a B. It's like the Boyd.
Yeah, it was the Boyd.
Yeah, I wasn't part of the Boyd. I was one of the monkeys. I was
yeah, but you
the little kid.
You weren't really like any role. There was nothing to mess up.
Could you tell when the other actors messed up? Like they constantly messed up, and they just kept going.
Oh no, couldn't tell. No.
Yeah, exactly. But sometimes it's much funnier. Like some of the things they said messing up was actually really funny.
Yes.
Compared to the original lines. Like some of the original lines are really boring. But like one point, one actor's having a conversation with another actor, and it's like a son and mother, and they started saying each other's lines.
But that would be more of a flaw of Grieg's writing than anything, wouldn't it?
Maybe.
Because I think if the writing's good, then the writing's good. I think it's just because you watched the play so many times that you enjoyed a difference.
Okay. I still think sometimes flaws can be good.
No, I think flaws are necessary.
Like the white gold ring?
In the words of...
Thomas Covenant.
I was going to say...
You're not real! Wah!
No, he never says that.
Yeah.
But, yes. But, no, I don't know if everything should be flawed, but I think everything is flawed. And I think recognizing those flaws allows you to...
improve upon them until you have none. And then when you have no flaws, you can take over the world.
Well, no, because I don't think there's much point once you have no flaws. Because you've done it all. You might as well just give up. Like, you know when you're playing an RPG and you get all the best gear and top level and stuff, and then you're like, woo, now I'm just going to go on a rampage or something, and then you're like, oh, well, this is actually not that interesting because there's no challenge. It's like if you could just...
Maybe that's you,
yeah.
But when you fight, you go into the PvP with all the other people who have top gears, and then you have to optimize, and there's still improvement you can do.
Well, then you're not perfect.
Or you can achieve your perfectness, and then you can beat the snot out of everyone and go... I'm the best.
See, life is
Try to knock me off my throne, because you won't.
It's like, Tunnel Shoot, right? Like, I stopped playing that game because I was just the best in the world, as far as I was aware, because it didn't have a high score list, but I assumed I was.
There's probably someone in Japan who's better than you.
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure there is. I actually stopped playing it because it's not on the Android App Store.
And you don't have an iPhone, iPod, I think, anymore.
I don't have any Apple products.
Yeah. Because apples are disgusting.
No, Apple's great.
No, I don't like the taste of apples at all. They're really tart and just got bad flavor.
Tim Cook gave me $5 million, Connor. And now, it's gone. He said, you just have to mention Apple on your podcast and not say anything negative, and I'll give you $5 million.
You could have told me this beforehand.
Now it's gone. No, it had to be natural. Now it's gone.
Well, better to love and lose than to never love at all. Better to have money and lose it than to never have money at all.
You are listening to The Fool and the Philosopher. Which one's which? You decide.
Yeah, right. Let's look at the topics list. It's getting too philosophical in here. Right, common dominion. I don't like talking about the.
You don't like talking about the podcast while we do it?
I don't like talking about the medium that you're in.
Because it breaks the...
It's like when a movie's like, oh, I bet a movie's never done that. Or in a book, it's like, in all the tales. Or when a podcast is like, and here we shall edit.
Well, actually, I'm saying here we shall edit as a note to myself to actually get rid of this part.
Oh, so is this still gotten rid of?
Well, I don't know because we're discussing it. It depends, actually, part of the time.
Well, I'll just say what I said again, and you can merge them together into one glorious thing. And now the next thing on the list. So, comedian mistakes. We were discussing this over a week ago now. But comedians do this thing
Where they self-defecate, and it's really gross watching them do it on stage.
Deprecate. And it's really gross. Because it just makes you feel sad.
Why does it make you feel sad?
Well, they hurt themselves when they do that.
If they do it too much?
Yes, if you're only down on yourself, or if you're only up on yourself, you have to be more like a trampoline on yourself. And if you're not a trampoline, then you're just going to bash your head into the roof or break your ankles on the floor. And is that deep? That seems deep.
Yeah. Well, it's deep when you're on the rebound.
No, that means something else.
No, but...
Yeah, but...
Oh, no, not the rebound.
Puns have to make sense. They can't just be, like, phrases.
No, not the rebound. What I meant is it's deep when you're on, when you're on a trampoline, and you land and the trampoline compresses.
Yeah.
And then you go back up again.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by rebound. It's deep when
I see, when you're at, like, the nadir of the bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're, like, when the mesh of the trampoline's bending.
At its lowest point, yes.
Yeah, it's the lowest point.
Right. But yes,
if the joke was funny, it's just I used the wrong words.
Yeah. You're deepest when you've dug a hole, and then you don't know what to say next.
Or
right.
You're deepest when you're 10 feet under.
Well, I think the podcasts have somehow gotten worse, like from number 1 to number 2.
This is 2.5.
I think this is second edition.
Okay. It's gotten worse somehow?
Yeah, than the first one. I don't know. It just seems to be these meanderings of philosophy. The first one was, we talked about video game design and stuff. That's exciting. People love video games.
But you don't like talking about them.
Yeah, I do. I love it. You said I couldn't talk about them anymore. I wanted to have a feature dedicated to me ranting about video games.
Okay, you can rant about video games. I just don't want to say, and now the feature about video games.
Right. And now the feature about video games. I didn't actually prepare anything for that. But anyways, back to comedians. Yeah, if you just always are down on yourself, you just sort of you look pathetic to others and you feel pathetic to yourself. You weaken yourself every time you do that. And, you have to be honest. You're not a terrible person. You're just, slightly terrible. And you're not a good person. You're just slightly good. You have to, be honest. You have to see your strengths and your flaws. And you can't just always be like, oh, I'm down. Because then the audience just sees you, this pathetic person on stage, just whining. And nobody wants that. Even if they're like, ha, ha. And the laughs just get, sadder and sadder. And then you're making yourself sad. And, you need to tell jokes that aren't about yourself. Or they're funny things that happen to or interesting. And it's just a common mistake comedians fall into is self-deprecation. They're like, well, yeah, I know I'm a fat person. And then, they just... being fat is part of their identity, and being lonely is part of their identity, and being sad is part of their identity. It's actually very common on the internet right now to have, especially among generation hip hop with their 8 tracks and wheelies and.
What a wheelie is when you go up onto a bike on the back wheels.
Yeah, like the BMXers, all those young kids with their record players blasting that.
Actually, I'm curious how many people will know what wheelies are.
Yeah, I wonder if that's the right name even. They're called Heelys, I think.
Oh, Heelys. Yeah, they're Heelys.
Yeah.
I always wanted Heelys. I was always jealous of kids who had
Heelys.
Yeah,
me too. I think most people know what they are. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah.
They might be called different things in different places, though.
Yeah.
But, everyone always went to West Edmonton Mall and got them, I noticed. That was, the thing. It was I went to West Edmonton Mall and got the Heelys. And you're like, I wish I could go to West Edmonton Mall.
Although they only worked on very certain surfaces, like mall surfaces.
Yeah, but they're awesome.
But it's funny to watch people try to use them on carpets.
Anyways. On the internet, you see a lot of these posts this is so me, or this is totally, or tell me about it, or my life, or me in capital letters.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff. And a lot of it is nihilistic and dark and sad and oh, I'm so pathetic, haha, or it's something like me, and then it shows someone it's 3 a.m. normal, 3 p.m. normal people are outside doing stuff. I'm still under my covers with my laptop, and then it's me at 3 a.m. normal people asleep, me still at my laptop, and those aren't healthy things, and they know it, and that's the joke. But it's not actually good. There's a reason that we know it's not healthy, and so you shouldn't identify with it. You should want to change.
Well, I think there's a lot...
I think identifying the problem is a good first step. But if you do that all the time, then you're being a person you don't want to be.
I think there's just a lot of really unhealthy people out there.
I think we should have a good old-fashioned witch hunt where we just we have this start line, and you shoot a gun, and then every hour, anyone that's the bottom 10% are just burned until you...
No, I was just thinking when you're saying I was thinking when you're saying we should have a witch hunt.
Yeah.
I was going to say me too. Sort of witch hunt.
Yeah, well,
But
if you want to have a witch
too
hunt as
political.
well, then go ahead. But yeah, if we both want a witch hunt,
Yeah.
then we can have our own witch hunt. I'll hunt witches that wear pointy hats, and you hunt witches with long, knobbly noses.
Okay. And what happens if we encounter one of the little pointy hat and knobbly nose?
We each get to burn half.
Okay.
And I'm gonna have copper dust in my fire, so they're green.
Okay, just to make it look like they're a witch, like they go up, whoosh, and
No, it
scream
just
fire.
looks cool.
Oh, okay. It's not to prove they're a witch while they're burning.
No, they're obviously a witch, because otherwise they wouldn't be on fire.
Oh,
We only burn witches.
why? Oh, how do we know it's always a witch?
Because they're on fire.
No, we know it's a witch because they didn't. They weren't able to run enough, and they were on the bottom 10%.
Yeah. So after 10 hours, of course, everyone's dead. Oh, no, it's just the bottom 10%, so it
Yeah,
actually...
so the population will decrease until there is 9 people left, and then the rounding down will save them.
No, wouldn't it stop before then?
No, it'd stop at 9.
Oh, no, let's say you have 100 people.
Yeah.
You take out the bottom 10%, there's 90 people.
Yeah.
Take out the bottom 10%, there's 81 people.
Yeah.
You take out the bottom 10%, there's 73 people. You take
Yeah.
out the bottom 10%, there's 64 people. You take out the bottom 10%. Oh, I guess it keeps going down.
Yeah, well, it'll go down until you hit 9.
Okay, yeah.
And then you have to start taking chunks out of a person, which is just kind of, no.
Yeah. What was that thing about executing someone's hair and then... There's some weird logic thing about...
Okay. So, the comedians and people being unhealthy.
Yeah, stop it.
Stop it.
Do
yeah.
better.
It might be you, but you should recognize that and then try to do better.
Yeah, fix yourself, you loser.
Well, that was a very philosophical thing to say.
Well, the thing is, right, if they think that applies to them, then they're doing it wrong. Because I don't think you are a loser.
No.
And if that hurt you, then look into yourself. See what part of you hurt yourself. And change
kill
it. Change it.
Oh. Sorry, I was going with the whole portal, where it's like, Carolyn, deleted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, speaking of video games, segue. They have segues all through Prague. And, like, it just looks dangerous because they have very steep, bumpy streets. And,
Okay, so, you wanted to talk about video games, yeah?
well, not really.
No. What did you want to talk about? What's the next on your list?
Daniel Radcliffe.
Okay, Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe was the actor for Harry Potter. I think he did an excellent job. He was also Frankenstein.
Which was he did all right at.
I didn't see that.
And he also was the main character of Horns, which
Don't know what that is.
It's pretty disturbing, but also pretty good.
And he seems like an all-around pretty sweet dude. So that's enough of him.
Wait, was he the actor of Daniel Radcliffe, or was it the Hobbit?
What?
I always get those two mixed up. Daniel
Elijah
Radcliffe
Wood?
and Elijah Wood.
No.
I actually find them really easy to mix up, and I don't know why, because one of them's got huge eyes, and the other one is a wizard. And
Yeah. Wizards are very similar to huge-eyed hobbits. I agree.
I don't think that's enough on the subject of Daniel Radcliffe. You have a weird, like,
Oh, I think actually saying I agree there was wrong. See, what I did there was it's sarcasm, and I think sarcasm makes you weak. Because, well, it's funny. It doesn't make you weak.
Okay.
Maybe.
I think you have a Tourette's, though, related to Daniel Radcliffe.
Tourette's related. It's like Crush, but instead it's Tourette's.
Yeah. Sure. Maybe. I don't know. Like, instead of, like, swearing randomly or out of nowhere, you will just randomly blurt out Daniel Radcliffe in a very certain way. And I think...
Daniel Radcliffe!
No, but I think what caused that is one of the How It Should Have Ended. They might have had a point where they sang out Daniel Radcliffe and much of the matter you do. I think that's might be the triggering influence hypnotica that affected you to go Daniel Radcliffe randomly.
It's not.
It isn't?
Nope.
What was it then?
It's a secret.
Is it?
It's your job, listener, sitting there in Walla Walla, Washington, to dislike and then find where the Daniel Radcliffe thing's from.
And put it in the comments down below.
Yes,
Or,
with your favorite insult.
yes.
I prefer nitwit. That's a good one, because having the wit of a louse is pretty sad.
Yeah.
I also
Did you know censoring is really, really hard? like censoring a word in a sentence, it is such a absolute bleep to do.
Like when you take like a thing full of spices and wave it over.
No, not
you
that.
You take like a censer or a brazier full of spices and you wave it over the word.
No, so when you're editing audio,
Yep.
and you want to censor a word someone had,
Yep.
and you try to bleep it out,
Yeah.
it is really hard to bleep a word out without like catching everything around it.
Yeah, well, they're generally not very good.
Yeah.
They normally just get the middle bit.
Yeah, but I mean, when you try to do it well, like get rid of the whole word, it doesn't actually work. And speaking of knowing editing and computer-related stuff, I am... Stop that. Okay, I am currently building models for a video game.
Cool.
And I...
Not available now for download on your local download station.
And I've thought, oh, I'm pretty close to the end actually making all the models. Like, I might need to edit them a bit, like, for final drafts and works and stuff.
Draft.
And I was told... Stop. I was told, behave yourself. No, I wasn't told that.
Yeah, so he was told
I was told...
So about me now.
No, stop. I was told...
You've had more airtime than you should have on my podcast.
That they need to be converted to JSON files. And what JSON files do is they take every little tiny dot that's in a model instead of blending the dots into faces. And my models are incredibly messy because I didn't know I had to get rid of all these dots. And so the models are too big, it's making the downloading too big, and the program is a downloading server, which makes it too hard for it to download the things, which will really slow down the game. So I have to go along and now edit every single one of my models to reduce the amount of dots. And I just sometimes feel like programmers like, ooh, JSON file. That seems like an easy model to implement. I'll just use JSON files. And they don't realize that their poor modeler has to not be lazy after that. It's just,
Yeah, it's rude. You should let people be lazy. That's why...
Modeling already takes a tedious amount of time. And there's a tool...
Why do you have to walk to the grocery store? Why can't they deliver to you for free?
Well, actually, if we were to have a sponsorships right now, it'd be Postmates. But we aren't sponsored by them, so they're not going to deliver to our door.
What?
Not Postmates. There's like one sponsorship you see all the time. But
yeah, but I doubt...
Right
No, I know what Postmates does, but they won't work here, will they? Like, I doubt they have to have an office. They're not just like wizards that teleport around the planet.
Oh, imagine them here. Hello, I would like you to bring my groceries to my door. It's -40. You said your services whenever, wherever.
Also, I'm on the top of a mountain through 6 feet of snow.
Follow the gray beard trailing down the side.
Yes. Well, actually, the mountain and the snow isn't really an exaggeration. Well, the snow is. It's not very snowy here. We're very not snowy for how cold it is. Yeah. It doesn't actually snow very much in a desert, it turns out.
Yeah, well, also it doesn't snow very much when it's really cold. If it gets too cold, it doesn't snow.
I can't remember.
It's not a desert. It's an intermountain range.
It's almost a desert.
It's almost a desert. It's not quite. We have
in northern Canada. Where are we?
Yes, northern Canada in the intermountain region.
In a desert.
Yes, almost desert.
Yes, it's not the Haines, which is by the ocean. So
yeah,
and that's also not Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should have it though. I think Canada should get Alaska.
Yes, we should.
We should start a petition.
We should buy it from Russia.
Yeah, for $1 million.
Yes. Actually, do we want Alaska? Like, the people that are in Alaska, they're
I like
Nice.
Alaskans.
Alaskans are nice, yeah.
I like the Alaskan cities. I like Alaskan food. I like their culture. I like their...
Oh, you like their food. Isn't that a shame?
Oh, yeah, I can't eat food anymore. It's this new development where I'm not allowed to eat food, and it's horrible. Because you see, the idea is that gluten may... Oh, there's a bird.
Yeah, there's a lot of birds. It's actually pretty fun to watch them. Like, they're really cute, and sometimes they'll like swarm out of the trees near us.
Like swarms. So what do they actually do?
They will swarm.
So weak language in writing, using the word seemed, for example. It seemed like he was tired. Just say he was tired.
Okay. Anyways,
there's no reason not to.
Food issue.
Well, no, I'd rather talk about writing.
Okay, we'll talk about writing.
I'm done now.
It seemed like you weren't.
No, I wasn't. And now I am.
Okay, fine then. Well,
yes, so, food. I can't eat food anymore because, well, there's this idea. It's not very well tested. It's very new science. just like of last year's January that they've started really looking into it.
Yeah,
that a small percentage of depression may actually be caused by inflammation and in the brain. Basically, like like when you stab your leg and then it gets full of like redness and you die. It's like that, but in your brain.
It's excess of blood rushing to the area.
Yeah.
And your limbic system's also swelling up to try to remove injuries.
Yeah.
So it's a concentration of healing.
Like inflammation.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't have bodies, there's what inflammation is.
Yes.
Right. This will be very useful for posterity. The incorporeal beings that listen to this thousands of years from now will be very grateful that we explain that to them.
Yeah. And the color red is a bit pinkish.
Well, no, you can't use color to describe color. Red is kind of like blueberries.
Yes.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
And dark. Like my soul. See, that's the thing you shouldn't do, the dark like my soul. Why does everyone have such a dark soul? How do so many people have a dark soul?
I don't.
Oh, yeah, you don't? See, that's the kind of person you got to look out for. The person that says they don't have a dark soul, that's suspicious. People that say they have a dark soul, they're pathetic. You want people that aren't talking about their souls.
Okay, what about the people whose souls are made of cranberries, blueberries, and raisins?
They're red. So,
okay.
That's what we're doing. Anyways, I can't eat food because inflammation can be possibly related to gluten. Now, I'm the first one to get right on board with these gluten-free, veggie-free, whatever things.
Are you?
No, I hate that sort of thing. It annoys me. It's like, I can't eat gluten. I have allergies. I have so many...
Apologies to all celiacs out there.
Weaknesses. I'll die if I stick a peanut butter up my nose.
And all allergenic people.
So I don't...
Actually, no. There's a great irony here, actually.
So, you see, that sort of thing just, it's fine.
I'm sensitive on the outside. You're sensitive on the inside.
Yeah. If you punch me, do I not bleed?
I'm
a hemophiliac.
That has to be quite a punch.
Oh.
It's not hemophiliacs, it's the other ones.
No, hemophiliacs bleed like crazy.
No, but the people, there's a combination. The people also, they get bruised and they'll bleed from the bruise.
Can you imagine being a hemophiliac? That must be so rough.
Well, having that combo of things, like the bruise and hemophilia would also... Ugh.
Yeah, it must be rough.
Yeah, hemophiliac.
Like, you are champions, hemophiliacs, just getting by day to day. Like, wow.
And I think...
I would die. Like, look at... I'm pointing my knuckle at the microphone. And look at it. It has a little scratch on it. I get 3 scratches a day by bumping into stuff. Mm-hmm. I would die if I was a hemophiliac.
I'm actually thinking, what happens if someone's people with asthma, or not asthma, asthma.
Crohn's!
Not asthma.
I have a rash all down my back. I need you to scour it with a brush.
Asthma. People with asthma.
Asthma?
Asthma.
No.
Not asthma.
Eczema.
Eczema. There we go. Eczema. So what happens if you're hemophiliac with eczema? Because my eczema, I'll get a crack in my skin and I'll bleed from that. So
maybe people don't get that unlucky.
Those people don't last very long because they're so unlucky.
Yeah, well, you'd hope that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That sounds rough. You'd have to be coated in saran wrap all the time to stay moist.
Ugh. But then you probably develop an allergy to saran wrap.
I don't know if you can have that many bad stuff. You probably can. That's pretty rough.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I'm not a trend person. Celiacs, I'm fine with. They're cool.
Well, they're perfect, or one of them is anyways.
Yeah. Celiacs, great people. Best people. But no.
Okay.
The one person that you're thinking of isn't actually celiac. But no, celiacs are fine. Right. They have a disease, right?
Yeah.
It's those people I call them
trenders.
Trenders, not trendsetters. I was gonna say trendsetter, but I meant
they're a trender.
They're trenders. They're ooh, no gluten. Ooh, I'm a vegan. Ooh, did I mention I'm a vegan? I'm a vegan helicopter pilot who doesn't eat gluten. Well, and you're just kind of well, thank I needed to know that. But so that kind of thing. But I don't think those people are actually that common. I think they get a lot more hate than they deserve. I think if you want to be a vegan, be a vegan. You want to not eat gluten, don't eat gluten. I'm not eating gluten right now because I'm actually feeling much better. And I wonder if people actually, or at least me, have problems with gluten.
Well, it's interesting because you're saying a very small amount of depressed people do it.
I'm speaking very fast, aren't I?
Yes, but
can I speak faster?
In a controlled study that was done recently, I was reading about Oh, wait.
What's the fastest sentence?
In a study I was told about recently, it was a control group with people with depression.
Yeah.
And they changed up the control group's diet.
Yeah.
And in the people without the diet change, like their depression stayed pretty constantly. In the people who they did change their diet to remove gluten and such stuff.
Yeah, every single person went down.
Every person went down, and 30% went considerably down.
Yeah. Yeah, I read the study. I think that the diet they switched to isn't actually necessarily the healthiest, though. It was sort of weird. It's like this...
What was the diet? I didn't read the diet. I just heard about it.
It was the Mediterranean diet. And the thing about the Mediterranean diet is... Mediterranean people live the longest on Earth, but that doesn't actually mean anything.
They live a long time because they're also exercising out in the sun, and their genetics also determine they live long.
They could live a really long time despite their diet.
Yeah.
Or it could be that fish basically make you immortal, but red wine kills you instantly. And so by eating them both, they just live longer than everyone else. But they're actually hurting themselves because they switched over to drinking red wine and stuff in that study, and I don't think that's actually necessarily the best for you. I don't know, but I think they would have to do a much better study than that.
Yeah.
One. But that was very interesting, like, groundwork. And there's just a lot of the science...
starting groundwork, like depression. Science is showing that depression, some of it might be caused by swelling in the brain.
Yeah. And it's also been shown that, like, antidepressants actually reduce swelling in the brain. And that might actually be the effect rather than the neurotransmitter change.
Yeah, the side effect might actually be what's helping you.
Yeah, because there's actually some antidepressants that don't actually affect neurotransmission, and they just do reduce...
that depression might be caused by brain swelling?
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think it's going to go places, this is science. And I don't think it's going to be for everyone. And I feel like I'm starving all the time, so...
You just need to eat bigger portions of the stuff.
I eat until my stomach hurts because it's so stuffed, because I don't know that I'm full. And I do it at every meal, and I feel hungry all the time. I need bread.
No, you don't. It's a placebo effect.
No, it's not. I can't feel not hunger.
Well,
and I just... It's horrible. I've lost 160 pounds in the past week.
No, you haven't.
I only weigh 150. And that was before the diet. And now the feature about video games.
Stop that.
Upgrades. Upgrades should be good in video games. Did I talk about that last time?
No, you actually didn't talk about the whole problem of civilization. We had the discussion.
Oh, no.
I think it's a good thing to discuss.
Well, not so much Civilization, I was thinking.
I mean, the games that don't do what Civilization does.
Civilization, every single upgrade is awesome. I saw this video on it. It was by... officially Devin. He had some great insights on this. It was called Just One More Turn. It was something like that, and it was Total War versus Civilization. And it was really good. He basically just said that Civilization, every single upgrade in the game totally changes the gameplay. Total War upgrades are like 3% bonus this and that. But I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking more like RPGs, where they're just like, you do 10% more damage or something.
Oh, yeah, that too. Like,
That's
Battle Brothers does a great job of that.
Yeah, Battle Brothers is awesome. Like, it's,
like,
you know...
Ooh, you get a 5% upgrade every single time you hurt an enemy.
Ori and the Blind Forest is another awesome one. It's like, you have a jump, your upgrade is double jump. Suddenly the game changes. Your upgrade is you get double the bullets. It's like, whoa.
Well, that's also Metroid.
Yeah.
Those are the Metroid games. Like, you get the upgrade. Okay, you get the charge shot. Okay, what's the charge shot do for you? Well, know how those little monsters you had to kill before by, like, tapping the A button rapidly? One charge shot hits them, they're down.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's awesome. Then you get missiles. And it's like, okay, missile are cool. What's better than a missile? Frost missiles that when you fire them, they freeze the target. What's better than that? You charge up a frost missile, you launch it, it freezes everything on the screen you can see.
Yeah, so in an RPG, ideally, when you level up, you wouldn't change your statistics, if you even have statistics. Rather, you just get a ability.
Or something
like,
cool.
And not like an ability like you jump 10% higher or something.
Or but you shoot twice.
Yeah. Not even, well, an ability where you jump twice as high would be fun, but even just make it a double jump. Why not?
Double jumps are really fun. Like, one of the coolest looking RPGs, like, or MMOs or whatever those are called, like World of Warcraft I saw, is this one game which is like sort of your classic, like, fighting off hordes of enemies, you're super OP. But one of the coolest mechanics is, like, you get to fly around when you get later, and, like, there's different classes that have different flying mechanics. Like, there's these girls with umbrellas, or guys with umbrellas. And their whole flying thing is they, like, spin their umbrella and then let go of it, and they go shooting off in the direction of their umbrella, and they pop it open and catch a breeze and can swirl up higher.
That sounds cool.
And then they can spin again, point themselves in a different direction, shoot that way. And then a different class has a sword, and he like throws his sword out and then flies to and grabs it. And they can throw a different direction and fly to and grab it. And that's like one of the main mechanics of the game, is the classes, each class has a different way of flying.
Yeah.
And that's like just really fun looking.
So yeah, game developers, upgrades don't have like percentage upgrades or this or that. Just make it like you have like a whole new ability. Like you're like, let's say you're playing, I don't know, Skyrim, and instead of an upgrade being like bows do 30% more damage, you have like your bow. When you have a bow, you do slow motion, or your arrows now all explode.
Well, there's a mod called the Ordnance Mod Pack.
Skyrim does a good job, by the way.
And also modders do a good job. But like one of the things for bows, which made bows really cool, is like one of the abilities is if you stand still for like 10 seconds, your shot gets 3 times as more powerful. So you can be stealthed with that. It's like called the Hunter's Hawkeye. And so you make your shot way more powerful by just standing still and pop up. And then you can fire it. Or another thing it did, which is like a joke even off the Skyrim, is it's when you shoot someone in the knee, it will make them fall over.
Yeah,
it gives them an arrow to the knee, and it's like one of the upgrades.
And I think this is why board games like Agricola, like worker placement games, are so fun, because it's exponentially
one more
exploding.
turn. The whole concept of like, I can't wait for the next upgrade.
Because let's say you're playing like Agricola, suddenly you have twice as many workers, and you're like, I can get stone and wood on this turn, which lets me build another barn. So I gotta play another, and then I have a barn. That means I can get 3 pigs. I have never played Agricola. You might be able to tell. And then you're like, I have 3 pigs, which means I can now feed twice as many people, which means I'll be able to open a new settlement here, which means my armies will be able to now, and I have a spare dude, so I can get iron, so my armies will be able to have soldiers with iron.
Like that's civilization.
And then these iron soldiers can conquer this place, which will give me horses, and these horses will allow me to have mounted troops. And this Agricola is about farming, I'm pretty sure, not armies, but you could do it about armies.
But it's like, every next step.
Yeah.
Whereas games like, woo, I leveled up, okay, it's 10 more levels until I can get this cool Shadow Clone ability, which I really want.
The other thing is running out of upgrades is bad. Like I think the example the Devon guy gave in Total War was the problem that once you fully upgrade a city, you're done with it, and every city is basically you fully upgrade every city in your empire. So going through your cities is boring. It's not like I want this city to have the ability to convert lava into happiness, and I want this city to be able to
convert dirt into love.
I want this city to be able to create ice bridges that let me travel across the ocean and also block off boats. And I want this city to be invisible. And I'm going to get this city the upgrade, the tier 17 upgrade, which has the mountain men from the chaos dimension that send the lords of the chaos marines back in time.
So
the alternate universe
gun down your enemies.
To gun down your enemies. Well, that sounds terrible, actually. But
but still,
you don't want to run out. You want your cities to have interesting choices. I think,
and even once you get to advanced science tech, you can still be building the rockets to go into outer space. Once you get future tech, you're doing stuff with all that.
Because the way that Total War tries to make you have choices for your cities is they have limited building slots.
Yeah. That's not a choice. That's a limitation.
Well, it does limit your... It makes you make choices. But the problem is that there's so few buildings that you don't get that much stuff. Like, you get like 6 things in each city. And so every city has 6 things and you're done.
Yeah.
So forcing you to choose is good.
But they need awesome more. Choices.
It needs to be taller. It needs to be deeper.
Yeah, the upgrades, the strings need to go farther, and it needs to be cooler.
Yeah, because
10% more guys. That is a good upgrade. Yeah. Like 10% more guys is a good upgrade. But wouldn't you rather have like every single one of your guys you build a city now is riding a war boar?
Yeah, or they can, and you know what you can do even as a game developer, and you're like, well, I can't think of that many creative things. All you do is go like, all your units now have flaming swords.
Yeah.
And it's just 10% damage. But it's a flaming sword!
Yeah, and I mean, it does have to give you a bit of graphics work.
Yeah.
More to do. But still.
But, and if you don't want to do that, then just be like, units are 10% faster. And it's like, well, that's boring. But what if your units could hop?
Yeah.
And then that's no graphic work. You just watch them go like, boing, boing, boing.
Yeah.
Or they can teleport. Or you can just make it exciting.
Yeah, make it exciting. Make it interesting. Like, one of the coolest things I think Warhammer added was their lab to Warhammer 2, Total War Warhammer, which is like you can basically make knockback. You can add moon gravity, and so when things get knocked back, they'll go flying off into the air and be stuck up in the air and useless for a really long time, then land and bounce across the ground and get back up again, and then charge back in the battle just to get smacked by the ogre
what if there's
again.
a spell that let you do that?
That'd be exciting. Or what if you had a city that could
cause that field,
like had a field of
That or something in your territory. Oh, that'd be cool.
I'd want to see. I'd want to have a battle in that, and then I'd also want like the rain of fire arrows from the fortress that I built in my city that lets me shoot anywhere in my province.
and they're just constantly coming
It's a
down.
range attack.
Like, you know the Black Ark, how it lets you bombard?
Yeah.
What if you could build like a
Thing in your provinces that let you bombard or something.
Or what if it's just like there's arrows just
Or could,
constantly
like
raining
unleash
down?
dragons on battlefields because you had like these dragon farms.
Yeah, you have a dragon nest. You have a dragon tower, and like your town's dragon pours out. It's not a unit you own.
Yeah,
but
it just
can
enters
defend
every
your
battle.
It enters a battle in that territory. So you're like, oh, I lost my dragon in this battle. It's a sacrificial unit because I have the dragon tower.
Yeah,
It could be like weaker than a dragon or something.
but
Yeah.
you know, just that idea.
Yeah, you have the dragon.
Or
tower.
it's like a really high tier building. Because the thing, what a quick fix to Total War, buildings at the very least, not their levels up, would just be to get rid of the amount of buildings you're allowed to build.
yeah.
That would make it wider, so there'd be like twice as much content and be exciting.
Yeah.
But an even better fix would be to make it go deeper and
Yeah.
keep the building restrictions. Because the building restrictions, I think, are a good idea, but it
yeah,
needs to
just
be deeper.
there has to be like more of a, oh, I want this, or
And-
these combos work with this town. Oh.
And maybe have buildings that cost like 50,000 gold that give
Give you another building slot or something,
yeah.
just so that you can really focus on a city if you want to. Because I think what Europa Universalis actually does well is you can have a single province that is insanely technologically advanced if you focus on it like crazy, which is quite fun.
And then the French will come and take it from
Whereas in Total War, it has the classic,
Yeah.
if you're strong, you get stronger,
you. Yeah.
which is hard to avoid, but
Some people can do it. Some games can do it.
yeah, it's very hard in a grand war game. Europa Universalis does it by having so many factions. Total War actually has tons of factions too, so they can make it work.
Yeah.
Except their goal isn't to, like, the thing about Europa Universalis is your goals are your own, so
Yeah.
it's a bit easier.
Well, Total War, they now have a sort of your goals are your own, so it's trying to get all the black books.
Well, that's not really your goal as your own. That's that's the opposite, actually.
Oh,
Excuse me.
you're excused.
Good. So, depressing philosophy to leave with. So the last
I
one
don't
was-
want to set a precedent, actually, of depressing prosody.
Okay, well then.
A depressant due prosody.
Right. So
I think we could just end on a. I think it's time to end.
I think we should always trail off in some awkward philosophical rant about something that I don't quite understand. So I've been looking into Carl Jung lately, and I really am having troubles understanding him. He has this very confident idea of animus and anima, and basically men have an anima and women have an animus, and it's like their shadow self, and they can interact with their shadow self, and it allows the
Okay.
to understand, like, it completes them. They have to join with their shadow self to become a complete human being. But if you become possessed by your shadow self, then you become a bad person. So you have to work with them but not be possessed by them. So that's called animus and anima possession. And so, for example, in man, their anima is supposed to be their feminine side, and containing feminine aspects. I don't know what those are. So you want to listen to them and, like, be guided by them and hold them as an ideal to work towards and all this sort of stuff, but not be possessed. Because if you're possessed by them, you become withdrawn and sad and lonely, and I'm not sure why that is. It doesn't. And with women, they become aggressive and blaming people if they get possessed by theirs, and angry, and so that's being possessed by the animus, like their masculine aspect, and they blame things, and they think there's dominance hierarchies that are trying to control them, and I don't really understand it so far.
So,
but it's
anyways,
very interesting.
On the ending note,
I want to read
don't
some of his books.
get possessed.
Yeah, find your shadow self and work with them.
Yeah, but don't get possessed by them. And we will see you all.
As the poem
Next
goes,
time.
I walked through darkness, fear on every side. My soul in terror cried. I walked through darkness. I danced through darkest dread. I embraced the darkness. It fled. I'm at the sea on Kion Haita, kun moi tanssimme lailla se laita, saliveli hepputtu putta putta putti putti dunle.